Hello, everyone. I'm so grateful to be here and to talk about frequency because it's so important that we understand that there is more than the world which we see with our eyes. And there's so much that is felt that we haven't really been able to understand until now. And this is why I'm so excited about this because I feel like I really got a deeper understanding of what's going on here after going to the conference and to give you all a little bit of context for what we're really doing here and like what's actually happening in this space and also the integrity of the people behind it. Um, I think that it really solidified my personal why of being here. And my personal why of being here on this planet in general has always been to help raise consciousness. And I know for every single person here, we all feel that, and we all are playing this very, very important role in it. So I had the pleasure of meeting Marcus Schmieke, who is the founder of Healy, and he's the creator of the quantum technology and the quantum sensor that is within the Healy. Which is what makes it so special. And so a little bit of his story, just for a little bit of background, is that when he was a teenager, he started getting introduced to these topics of frequency. And, he read some books and he was like, just like, I need to know more. But he didn't want to know in an intellectual way. Like he wanted to experience consciousness at the depths. So he decided to go to India and study the Vedas, and he became a monk for 10 years. And in that time, he was exploring consciousness. He was exploring his own connection to God, his own connection to frequency. And in that, what ended up happening is, through synchronicity, he meets some other scientists who are along this field as well. And he discovered that somewhere dimensionally between us and our 3D physical reality and God is an information field. And that information field can be understood through the understanding of frequency. And so some other scientists on the other side of the world at the same time were starting to understand what each of those frequencies really meant. And so we started to understand like, oh, like everything contains a frequency. Like your liver has its own frequency. Like we have our own frequency. Even like this blanket has, its own frequency. Viruses, pathogens, they each have a frequency. And what scientists realize is that through quantum physics, like by understanding that in between each of our atoms is space, that if we can influence the space between things, that we can then influence the whole. And so it's so powerful to use frequency because when we do, we're actually getting to like more of the root cause of issues. And so I really like the explanation of like thinking of it like a key and a lock. And so like say you take an Advil or you take some type of like more pharmaceutical or chemical drug, like what it's doing to your cell is it's like taking a manual lock to a key, it's opening it up and it's telling the cell like produce less inflammation or whatever. Whereas what makes frequency so amazing is that it basically is telling the in-between spaces, or it's letting the cell receptor know, hey, you can actually function the way you're meant to, instead of like, stop doing this, do that. It's instead of that, it's like, oh, just come back to like what your original job is, like the original blueprint. And then thinking about how that's happening for all of us within our bodies as well. And as human beings, like in the same way, it's helping us return to our original blueprint and why we're actually here and what we're here to do in this world. So, yeah. So the biggest thing for me that I think really clicked it was that it all actually has to do with water. And as we all know, like we're 70% water in our bodies. And water is the holder of information. Water has memory. Water can actually, it remembers and it understands frequency. Its language is frequency. And so there was a scientist, Dr. Emoto, who would do these experiments where he would say to water, he had different subjects, and he would say, I love you to this one, and then say, I hate you to this one, and freeze them. And the ones that he said very kind things to would always freeze in these beautiful fractal patterns, whereas the ones where he was mean to were very incoherent and didn't really have a shape. It was just kind of like that. And so in the same way, it's like the way we speak to ourselves is influencing the water in our bodies. And that's which then tells the cell like, oh, you're bad. And then, so it's just this like, snake eating its tail sort of thing. But what we're doing through frequency is we're giving, so like the wire is here, it's coming through the machine and it's sending information into my water, which is then creating a pattern that's then telling my cell, hey, you're allowed to actually, function the way you're meant to, or you're allowed, and it's transmitting the information to the cell receptor to do what it needs to do. And the other thing that I learned that I had no idea is that, but it makes sense. We are electromagnetic, and that our cells, you can tell the health of our cells based on how much voltage is within it. So, when we have stresses and things like this, it actually depletes the energy from our cells. It takes the charge out of it. And we're like a battery, like our cells actually need to be recharged. And so the Healy, the medical grade version of this is with the wires that I'm using right now. And not only is it sending the information, the frequency through the through the water in our bodies, it's also, the water is also the conduit for the electricity to get within our cells as well. So we're getting this huge upcharge, up level. And it all really has to do with water and the fact that water holds information. And within our water bodies, we are always communicating through the water in our bodies. So actually did an awesome live all about this with Emily, if you want to check it out later. But yeah. And so the final piece, does that make sense to everybody? You may get a thumbs up. Okay, cool. So the final piece that I really want to share with you all today that I learned at the conference is, so I also had the pleasure, beyond just meeting like the creators, some of the scientists behind this, I also got to meet the man who is in charge of the comp plan for Healy. And, I've honestly had moments where I've been like, why are they paying us so much? Like, I genuinely have asked that question. Like, I don't really understand. But after hearing him speak, I understood, because he was coming from a place where he came from absolutely nothing. His family, I believe they were from Slovenia, and he grew up with absolutely nothing. He joined a network marketing, it was, I think, for supplements, and he was doing really well. And all of a sudden he was starting to make income that he could share with his family. And he was like, oh my God, like, this is amazing. But what he realized is that he was selling people based off of them not being well, right? Like, it was like, oh, well, if you want to lose weight, well, you should get that, or like, it was based off of like where people were unhealthy. And when he found Healy, he didn't want that. Like, he was like, I don't like that I'm, basically making money off of people being sick or whatever. And so when he found Healy, he was like, oh my God, this is the tool. Like, this is what's actually going to bring people to real healing. And it's not just like this mask or like, something you can take, but it doesn't do it all, And so when he saw this, he was like, this is amazing. And he was like, he just believed so much that network marketing was how this needed to be done, that they hired him to be in control and like the person who is leading all of it. And it made me feel so excited to hear him and everyone in the company feel so passionate about network marketing and the power of creating communities and really getting people belly to belly and in these really intimate moments with each other. And then also, he's like, we're never going to change this business model. Like, Healy's your home. Like, it's not going anywhere. Like, we believe in this model so much, and that this is how this device is going to be shared to the world, that like we we won't ever do it any other way. And you can trust that. And so I think that really made me feel like very safe in this space. And for a lot of us, like, we all needed to hear that. And it's just amazing to know that they also share the same vision of raising consciousness and really helping us all thrive, because they know that if we do well, that their product is going to do well. And so it just makes so much sense. Yeah, Amazon tried to buy Healy and they were like, heck no. And that just like really shows me the integrity of the space. And that is so aligned with our collective vision of creating community and raising the frequency of the planet. So mic drop, that's it for me. Thank you so much for listening.